Please welcome back the CEO and Executive Director of the U.S. Conference of Mayors, Tom Cochran.
Hello, everyone. I just want to, I'm introducing a film that we've done on the infrastructure law, and we're trying to put a face on the infrastructure law. We know that it's all about bridges and roads and rails, but it's also about people. So we dedicate this film to hundreds of mayors who work with the Biden administration and Congress to pass a $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill. We are now trying to get that money out to you. We're sorry some of it went to the states. That's up to you to go get it. And we really appreciate Bloomberg Philanthropies for the hub. You've seen us do that with Jamie Lombard and the Bloomberg team. And so let's watch the video. Thank you.
On November the 15th, 2021, on the back lawn of our White House, mayors applauded and rejoiced as President Joe Biden signed a $1.2 trillion infrastructure law. Fontana, California Mayor Aquanetta Warren, she represented the nation's mayors on the podium when she eloquently thanked President Biden for his tenacity and persistence in not giving up or giving in until the infrastructure law was passed. She thanked Congress too, and above all, she thanked the nation's mayors, assembled that day as well as other mayors in cities across America, for their long and seemingly never-ending toil of pushing this bill through Congress. And when President Biden spoke, he made significant reference to the bipartisan efforts of our mayors. He referred to a special letter that was signed by hundreds of mayors, both Republicans, Democrats, and independents, mayors of the United States Conference of Mayors. On the stand to witness the actual signing, President Biden also asked former conference president Nan Whaley to stand beside him for this day in history. Mayor Whaley and Oklahoma City Mayor David Holt led our robust lobbying effort through Zooms and in person to push their members of the House and Senate to pass the law, to get the job done and send the bill to President Biden for his signature. Not since the Interstate Highway Bill in June of 1956, signed by President Dwight David Eisenhower, have we had an infrastructure bill providing $1.2 trillion. It was a day, a cold day, a historical day that we will never forget. But you know, as big and as vast as it is, this law is thought of as one that provides bricks and mortar and roads and bridges. But the fact is that we are beginning to see how much this massive federal program will help the people of our great nation. In its infancy, we are beginning to see the human side of this law, putting a face on this major investment. In this film, we show three mayors: Fontana Mayor Aquanetta Warren, Scranton Mayor Paige Cognetti, and Kansas City Mayor Quentin Lucas, all showing us how this law is helping to make a better life for our people who live, love, work, play, and pray in our cities. Together with Bloomberg Philanthropies, we have held many virtual and in-person sessions through our local infrastructure hub, helping cities of all sizes get their rightful share of the federal dollars provided through direct grants or money that was unfortunately sent to the states. We thank Bloomberg Philanthropies for this strong and effective partnership. So let's now hear from and see how three dynamic mayors are making it better for their residents. We salute Mayors Warren, Cognetti, and Lucas, and we thank them for their time and guidance, illustrating that yes, it's more than roads and bridges. This new law is about helping people of all ages in their daily lives, making a difference as they reside in the great cities of the United States of America.
Good morning, it's Aiden. I'm now on the way to school. I left about 25 minutes early, and as you can see, I'm in a long trail of traffic all the way back to the light. I'm with Mom. Hey, Mom.
My name is Aiden Hamilton. I'm a junior here at Etiwanda High School. School doesn't start until 8:30, but because of the traffic, I have to plan ahead. If you are not there at least 20 minutes early, you will be caught and you will be late. You will be sitting behind a long, endless path of cars. The patience that you have to get to school can be not a great way to wake up and start your day.
My name is Aquanetta Warren, and I am the mayor of the city of Fontana. All three of my children graduated from Etiwanda High School, and all three of them had to walk to get to school. Etiwanda High School is home to 3,500 students, over 69% Fontana residents. So they have no other option but to come that way. They have to travel down that street to get to this school site.
A lot of students end up having to just walk out and hope that people stop, trying to dodge and weave and time going across the cars.
I dropped off my kids. It was not a good feeling.
It's kind of like that video game Frogger.
Fontana is a great city. It is about 65 miles east of Los Angeles. We're growing. We've seen a growth in homes, businesses, and the biggest challenge is making sure that our infrastructure continues to match that growth. It's the streets, the lights, the traffic signals, even school drop-off zones are infrastructure. And thank you, Mr. President, for making this a reality. Thank you. I had the pleasure and honor of speaking at the White House on behalf of all the governors and mayors. The president himself told me, everybody wanted to talk, Aquanetta, but I told him, no, Aquanetta's gonna represent all of you. That bipartisan legislation for infrastructure allowed people to go back and look at their community and see what was a priority, apply for the grant, and apply it to their area. And that's what Fontana is doing. I was so excited because I saw a pathway for my community. So is it getting into class, or is it when you get here, how to get here?
Yes, it's about to get here.
How can your mayor help with that?
I think we just need more space. We need more access to our campus. When there's 3,500 squeezing into a single road, it gets pretty crowded, yeah.
Right. Well, what would you ask
I think
the
if
mayor
I were in charge, I'd be trying to make more accessible drop-off zones.
So our goal is to make the infrastructure safer. We're gonna put in sidewalks, bike lanes.
I would be waking up an hour later. You know, I'd be taking my time. I'd be strolling into school. The minute it starts, I'd be relaxed. I wouldn't have anything to worry about. In a lot of ways that people don't even consider, it's gonna impact our lives for the better.
It's not an overnight. It is a long-term commitment to outstanding infrastructure in your community. I've seen over 25 years of what needed to happen here, and finally, we're going to do it.
I can see a lot of progress, and I just hope that it keeps going and the community stays strong.
Would you mind if we take a selfie?
Absolutely.
Perfect.
You know I'm the selfie queen, okay?
I expect big things for this then.
My name is Paige Cognetti. I'm the mayor of Scranton, Pennsylvania. What I love about Scranton and what I fell in love with when I first came here, it's a place where family thrives and where family really means something.
My name is Jorge Ariza, and I am a graphic designer from Scranton, PA. My parents are originally from Mexico. They came to seek the American dream. They ended up moving to the Scranton area. They loved it here.
We're very proud to be raising our daughters here in Scranton. It's a really special place. Scranton sits as a logistical hub for the Northeast region of the United States. As a place where industry and manufacturing was a real hotbed during the Industrial Revolution, the Scranton family actually began to make T-rails that they shipped out all over the country and helped build the entirety of the railway system in America. In 1892, my 3 times great-grandparents got on a train from Scranton and headed west.
Scranton is actually known for its history of trains, for the coal mines, and especially for the office.
Our legacy includes the first electric trolley system, passenger rail to New York City, all these pieces that used to exist. Today, driving around Scranton, you'll see train tracks in many, many places. Some that are still used, but many that go nowhere. The last train left the Electric City for the Big Apple in 1970.
I commute to New York City regularly for freelance projects. I have to take the bus because that's the only option that we have in the area, fortunately. It could be cramped sometimes because of the morning rush hour that comes up.
I was going to New York on Monday or Tuesday of this week. We got stuck in traffic on 80.
Right.
And then you're at the Lincoln Tunnel and you're not sure how long it's gonna take.
Exactly.
Making it easier to get back and forth to opportunities would be great for entrepreneurs like Jorge and for so many other people in our community.
The lack of train station around here, it really does affect my opportunity to pursue my career in the city.
Trains have always been part of our DNA, part of our entrepreneurial history. It's a part of our past, but it also should be part of our future. Pennsylvania is one of the first states to receive funding from the $66 billion allocated for Amtrak in the bipartisan infrastructure law. The federal government, President Biden, are coming through with funding for this for the first time since 1970, since that last train left the station.
Take the bus, but
I really want to ask the mayor, when are we going to start building that train station?
We have great news that this is all going to become a rail station and rail line to New York. This will become the gateway for northeastern Pennsylvania to New York City. Not just a hub for the region, but a real economic boom for our downtown and for our city.
A new train station, it's always been a rumor for years. Now it's coming to life. It's really exciting.
We may have a new train line from Scranton to New York City as early as 2028. The service development plan includes 3 trains each way every single day, including dining cars.
This new train station will benefit a lot of commuters. It will allow them to keep that Scranton lifestyle and have the benefits of working in the city.
This rail line will be transformative for our economy and for our quality of life here in northeastern Pennsylvania.
I see myself in the future still living in the Scranton area, and now I have this train station that gives me the opportunity to go back and forth and have the best of both worlds.
We need infrastructure that works for people and that is out of sight, out of mind. The bipartisan infrastructure law is helping us get there here in Scranton. I'm extremely proud of pushing for this funding, and I'm really looking forward to boarding that first train with my family from Scranton to New York.
I always have to come back to Scranton to see my mom and dad. I love them.
'71 Highway cuts through the heart of the Black community in Kansas City. It is also a dividing line. Blacks historically lived east and whites lived to the west.
With the highways that divide our neighborhoods, it's hard for a lot of these families to get what they need.
My family lived on the footprint of that highway. And I still remember when I was a little kid, I was asking my mom while they were doing construction on it, "What's that for?" And she said, "It's a faster way downtown for people." But I knew it wasn't for us.
It brought a lot of stress and struggle to a lot of our families, and mine of course too. Growing up, we didn't have a lot of money or a lot of anything.
We have not addressed our past, some of the tough history that has separated our community for far too long.
There's a lot of violence here, and it's hard to say, okay, well, I'll be fine going to school, because it wasn't really that fun, you know?
I was blessed to grow up with a wonderful mother, a single woman who raised me and my 2 sisters by her lonesome. We moved around a lot. We knew what it was like to live in some rundown housing. We knew homelessness. We knew a lot about what it meant to try to catch the bus, but when the bus routes weren't there and working for you, how challenging that could be.
A lot of people in the community aren't as heard as they want to be. They just feel unseen, and it's breaking us a little bit, you know?
Part of why I wanted to become mayor and part of what I do as mayor today is to say, how can I remove those barriers to success in so many parts of our community? And so what we are trying to do today is make amends, is trying to find a way using infrastructure, bridges, sidewalks, better cameras, better lighting, better traffic lights, to say, how can we make it safe for people, first of all, to cross the highway? And ultimately, how can we remove the highway as a barrier and instead see bridges of opportunity that go from east to west, from black to white in our community, and white to black in our community? The bipartisan infrastructure law today means that we have a chance to address issues that we have not been able to address for my entire lifetime in Kansas City.
If I were mayor, I would try and provide students and adults and their families the opportunities of just knowing that you're safe getting from point A to point B.
For kids like Mariana, the bipartisan infrastructure law means that our country, our states, our cities, our president care about them, care about removing barriers to their success.
The mentality that Mayor Lucas has, it's uplifting, and it shows that he really cares, and you know that other people can care for this community.
There are a lot of different paths that I could have had, but there were people that cared about me and invested in me. How can I make it so that the story I was able to have isn't an exception, but is the routine?
If we could just present opportunities that we have to others, maybe we can fix some things that are damaged, you know? Find a solution to that problem that seemed like it didn't have a solution.
The bipartisan infrastructure law is saying, you matter, your future matters, and you're worthy of investment. And there's nothing more important than making sure communities know, that kids know, they are worthy of investment.
I'll be watching out for you. All right, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
We'll see you. Take care.
The picture I paint in my head for my future and for my family's future is just pure success. I want to be able to be like, hey, yeah, you can have that. No matter what's happened within this community, it can always get better, and I believe it can get better, and I'm gonna see it one day. I'll see it. We'll make sure of that.
Please welcome the Vice President of Corporate Development at HNTB Corporation, Maurice Henderson.
Good afternoon, mayors and other conference attendees. It's a real honor to be here for the 92nd meeting here in Kansas City. Such a legacy of leadership in this room. As mentioned, my name is Maurice Henderson II. I'm Corporate Vice President for HNTB. Our firm was proudly founded here in Kansas City in 1914, 110 years of service to communities throughout the country. I'm really honored to be here to moderate this incredible panel of leaders from across the country. I'm going to take a point of personal privilege because I just saw him out in the hallway. This is also the 20th anniversary of me coming to this town to help run a political campaign, and I met a college intern And that college intern became the leader of his hometown, Mayor Quentin Lucas. And so, Quentin, I know you're not in the room, Mayor Lucas, but congratulations on the birth of your new child. Thank you for the opportunity to allow us to support you in hosting this incredible opportunity and gathering of such great leaders and friends. Hopefully everybody got enough barbecue last night and had a good time dancing with Mayor Ginther at his soundless dance party, which is fantastic. But anyway, a few housekeeping things. I just want to also thank U.S. Conference of Mayors, Tom, Catherine, Tiffany, the USCM staff, the Board of Trustees, the folks here at Lowe's for the service they've been providing for us all week. And we give a hand to those folks as well. So we're here today to talk about public-private partnerships and particularly balancing the risks and opportunities to collaborate across sectors. Later today at 3 o'clock, there's going to be the actual P3 Task Force Forum that'll be led by, I believe, by Mayor Locke Dawson and Mayor Ross from Arlington and Riverside. And then at 4:15, my former Biden and Harris colleagues from the U.S. Department of Transportation are going to be hosting a federal help desk. So you should definitely check those two opportunities out later today to hear more about the work that P3s are doing throughout the country. But for the purposes of where we are today with this great panel of mayors, you know, our country has an incredible history with P3s, going back to George Washington and the Alexandria Canal Company, as well as from my hometown of Boston when the Charles River Bridge Company created the bridge that connected Charlestown to Boston, making the Harvard College ferry obsolete. So we've got a long history in this country of doing P3s, and we have three incredible leaders here that are going to tell you about what they've been doing both in their cities and across the country. Immediately to my left is the incredible mayor of St. Louis, Missouri, Tashara Jones. My good friend, former mayor of Columbia, South Carolina, and now the president's director of public engagement, Steve Benjamin. And the mayor of Cincinnati, Ohio, Aftab Perval. Thank you all for being here. It's really an honor, and for me, it's really personal because each of you have been at incredible points in my career. Tashara, I remember we first met when you ran for city treasurer. Steve, you were there as a mayor when I was becoming a chief of staff to a mayor and helping me sort of navigate all of those kinds of idiosyncrasies. And Perval, I remember when you were mayor-elect of Cincinnati and I was working for Secretary Buttigieg. We met at the White House when the president invited all the new mayors that year. So it's been an incredible journey, incredible to watch all of your successes throughout your careers. It's just something that I'm deeply personally proud of to be connected to you in that way. But let me start with Mayor Benjamin, if I may. As the past president of USCM, you played a key role in establishing the P3 task force. Two questions. What was the impetus and what led you to champion the formation of the task force as you were on the executive board?
Well, sure. Thank you, Maurice, and thanks to HNTV for your leadership here. It was just clear to me. Many of you I had the privilege of serving with, along with Brian Barnett. We had our 2-year leadership bipartisan plan that focused on infrastructure, innovation, and inclusion. Realizing that much of the infrastructure development that was happening in this country for years was really being done by cities and counties, really led by local governments using municipal bonding indebtedness to try and build infrastructure, and oftentimes doing it alone, not in partnership with the state government, sometimes with some partnership from federal government, but nothing consistent. How many of us have went to Infrastructure Week, every other week, to never get an infrastructure bill from Congress? Once the president, with the partnership of bipartisan partnership, I might add, in Congress, got the bipartisan infrastructure law out, it was really clear that now we actually had a real opportunity. We'd watched fantastic public-private partnerships all across the globe. But in the U.S. here, it seemed more like an emerging market still.
Yeah.
And the idea of looking at trillions of dollars of need out there and people in different sectors wanting to try and think about ways in which we could build some creative capital stacks to solve problems. Maybe some institutional capital here, managed by private equity, some really thoughtful, solid firms that have been delivering on literally trillions of projects all across the country, some municipal debt. But just trying to create an environment, create a space where everyone could be somewhere and think about ways we could deliver solid projects that met the needs of our communities in ways that usually dialogue was never really happening. And I'll say this because I know we don't have a lot of time today, but the most important thing I probably want to leave with you today is, yes, we now have a fantastic infrastructure decade because of the president's leadership. We have amazingly talented local government leaders who are doing great things at the center of dynamic metropolitan areas. This is a unique opportunity to structure partnerships with the private sector that allow us to pick partners that live within the values of our cities. And that's something you don't get with a low bid contract out there, but actually sitting there and curating and articulating a clear idea as to where you want Cincinnati to go, where you want St. Louis to go, and then structuring a partnership that meets those needs of your citizens for posterity, long-term patient capital. If you do it right, you can deliver some great projects with several of those of you who are supporting this P3 task force. It was important to have that discussion, and that's why we pushed to have the task force set up, and thank God for Tom and the other leaders here that made it happen.
Yeah, no, thank you. And you know, the partners, AI, Sidewalk Infrastructure Partners, Reddit.net, who stepped up. Really important, the conversation that we had last October that Mayor Andre Dickens, who chairs the task force, unfortunately couldn't be here with us. He had some other scheduling conflicts, but he's been providing great leadership, and obviously that's reflected by the leaders here on this dais. Mayor Jones, I'm going to turn to you. Your city has definitely seen an infusion of a lot of that federal capital that Mayor Benjamin just mentioned. I'd be curious, St. Louis has experienced such a surge and redevelopment, and how has your city been leveraging the public-private platform to really incentivize that capitalization?
Well, again, thank you for having me here on this panel. St. Louis has been in a unique position to leverage this moment in our nation's history by pulling in our corporate partners and our philanthropic partners. We started we started an economic justice action plan that's going to invest in underutilized and marginalized communities. And in partnership with that, we also developed a fund called our Economic Justice Accelerator that's held at our local community foundation to leverage the ARPA dollars that we're spending in community to try to leverage that investment to get to $1 billion. Because we realize that we can't do this on the shoulders of government alone. We're going to need our private partners, we're going to need our philanthropic partners to help us ideate what St. Louis can be when we pull all of those pieces together at the table to make sure that we're investing in communities that haven't seen investment in decades. So we used over half of our ARPA allocation as a down payment, about $286 million. It's not being held specifically at the Community Foundation, but we're saying we're putting our money where our mouth is, and we're using leveraging the Community Foundation to raise almost $750 million to then deploy in community.
Oh, thank you for that. Mayor Purval, I was thinking as Mayor Benjamin was talking about some of the investments and that infrastructure week joke that had been told for a long time. Well, you've got one of those bridges, those signature projects in your backyard, the Brinksman's Bridge. I'd love for you to tell the audience about how you've been able to leverage the P3 opportunities and the legacy that you have in Cincinnati that you're leading now as that bridge project is coming to fruition.
Thank you, and thanks so much for having me on this panel. It's so good to be with my friend Mayor Jones and the mayor of mayors, Mr. Benjamin. Welcome back. The P3s are so critically important to the most recent past in Cincinnati, certainly the present, and absolutely the future. In Cincinnati, the city government just does not have the resources, the subject matter expertise, and the risk tolerance in order to do the big things that we want to do. We also don't have the time. Oftentimes, mayors have 4 or 8 years in Cincinnati to actually get their agenda done, and as we know, it takes transformational change, takes much more than just 10 years. And that's where P3s have really been a huge benefit to Cincinnati, and specifically on the Brent Spence Bridge. You know, for a generation, this bridge has needed investment. Presidential candidate after presidential candidate has done a press conference in front of the Brent Spence Bridge and said, we are going to get this done. And it wasn't until President Biden came along and passed the bipartisan infrastructure bill that we finally had the resources necessary as a local community to compete for and make our pitch. It's not just an important project on the national stage. 3% of GDP goes over this bridge. It's also critically important for our local economy because one of the industries where we're really a leader is transportation and logistics. As I mentioned, 3% of GDP goes over that bridge. DHL has its largest North American hub at our Cincinnati airport. Obviously, river commerce is also very important to us. And then finally, road traffic. And so for a lot of reasons, this bridge has been critically important to the future of Cincinnati for a generation. But mayors come and go. The Chamber of Commerce locally was our true partner for the last really 20 years, keeping this bridge at the forefront of our regional agenda. Not just Cincinnati and the state of Ohio, but also Indiana and specifically Kentucky and Covington and Newport, smaller communities just across the river. That institutional stability, that ability to convene all the regional partners and keep this as our number one infrastructure priority gave us the opportunity, frankly, to strike while the iron was hot when this once-in-a-generation funding opportunity came so that we were first in line. We already had the collaboration. We already had the buy-in. Obviously, President Biden, Senator Brown, Senator Portman, Senate Leader Mitch McConnell, the Governor Beshear, Governor DeWine, they get a lion's share of the credit. But the only reason we were able to have that strong coalition of people and to strike while the iron was hot, to get the single largest federal grant in our country's history, $1.6 billion going towards that bridge, was because we had that built-in public-private partnership ready to go once the funding was available. The final thing I'll say about the Brent Spence Bridge, we are now in the process of designing the actual approach to the bridge. And again, those corporate partners have been critically important to help us identify what was most important to us from a reclaiming developable land perspective. And as a result of that partnership through the design build process, we were actually able to reclaim 11 acres of land, roughly 3 city blocks directly west of our convention center. So not only is that bridge going to be narrower, but we're also able to create economic development opportunities because of the nuanced and intentional way we designed it collectively and collaboratively. That has been a win-win across the board.
Mm-hmm. It's fantastic. Thank you for that. I think from the private sector's perspective, when you mention risks at the top of your comments, Mayor, and I think for us, making sure that there are clear parameters for design elements and when construction is in play, making sure that the performance outcomes are very clear so that folks know what they're being held accountable for from our perspective is really important. I know same for the public trust. The mitigation of unforeseen circumstances, obviously with the global pandemic, materials costs, labor scarcity, skill scarcity, et cetera. Those are things that are contingencies that we need to think about. And cost escalations, obviously, we all have seen that in certain projects at different times. Mayor Jones, I'm going to ask you. You spoke to me earlier about the efforts that you made around the parking management improvements that you did in your city as city treasurer. Yeah. What lessons did you take away from that from a risk and opportunities perspective, and how are you applying that now during your mayorship?
Yeah, so before I became mayor, I was the elected treasurer of the city of St. Louis, and that position is the most unique position in the country, and I'm gonna tell you why. Not only because the city treasurer is just the head of investments for the city treasurer of the city of St. Louis is the parking supervisor. So all meters and off-street parking are under that office's purview. And I saw this as an opportunity to renegotiate a P3 that the office currently had when I was elected. to make sure that the city was getting what it should from that partnership. So we did a huge RFP to upgrade our technology when it came to parking meters. We were still collecting coins as our primary, and cash as our primary form of payment in the year of our Lord 2013. So we upgraded all of our parking meter infrastructure, but we put together a P3 that made sure that we were in control of that investment, that the meters actually belonged to the city, but that the maintenance was the responsibility of the contractor, and the employees were paid a livable wage. We made sure that the contractor paid them at least the minimum wage of $15 an hour. So not only were we protecting the city's interests, but we were protecting the interests of the workers who would eventually have to work on this infrastructure that was being deployed across the city.
And those are all residents of St. Louis as well.
They are all residents of St. Louis, absolutely.
Right. Mayor Purval, you were mentioning to me yesterday, as you were thinking about the risks and rewards around some of the innovation around just something as simple as budgeting. So cities, large and small, all have to have a budget. I'd love for you to talk a little bit about that and how you've leveraged P3 support for that.
You know, I really wanted to make this point because oftentimes when we talk about P3, we talk about massive infrastructure projects or we talk about parking. And if you feel overwhelmed or intimidated, there's a full spectrum of P3 partnerships. And one particular example that I wanted to lift up is we are currently living through an incredible transitional time, given post-pandemic realities, given interest rates, given climate change and how it's affecting migration and how people work, remote work, et cetera. It's a really difficult time that mayors are having to project into the future, to think about, okay, what is a intentional investment I can make right now with all of this change happening right under my feet to ensure that our community grows and grows equitably, to ensure that we're achieving those housing, public safety, environmental, economic development goals. It can be really challenging with so many moving parts right now and variables. And so to try and mitigate that risk, to try and get smarter, frankly, about predicting future trends, we opened up our books and asked the CEO of Procter & Gamble, the largest consumer products company in the world, executives from Kroger, the largest grocer in the country, GE Aerospace, the GM of the Bengals, business community leaders to look at our budget, look at the revenues and the expenses, and give us recommendations for strategic investments and strategic increases or decreases in revenue in order to help with remote work, vibrancy of our downtown area, the different changes in our economy. And it was incredibly important for a number of reasons. Number one, again, the city doesn't have all of the subject matter expertise that oftentimes we need, so that soft investment of time was really helpful for us to educate us. But the second piece is that what came back was called the Futures Commission report, and it baked in the support of the business community for some of these really hard and big ideas. And mayors, again, I keep coming back to this, but we only have 4 or 8 years, if you have term limits, to really make a significant change. And so by having these big swings enumerated by the business community, we saw where there was shared priorities and shared goals, and now we have a clear runway to get the community behind some of these recommendations and really change the face of Cincinnati for a generation.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I know that you had Fifth Third Bank is also another partner here at the conference and in that work with you. Mayor Benjamin, I'm going to turn to you for to close it out for us, sir. The administration has made an unprecedented funding available, as you've mentioned. When you think about the risks, also think about the successes. And I'd love for you to talk a little bit about how you've seen P3's A, address the risks, and B, be successful for the president's vision for the country.
Sure, yeah, and I'll be brief. I know we're running out of time. Both of these examples were so inspiring and exciting. The transparency of sharing your books, and first of all, understanding your books. If you haven't decided how you're going to deal with your insomnia, pick up your consolidated annual financial report one day and figure out how your city is currently structured. But thinking about how, post pandemic, post all the changes we've seen over the last few years, how you are going to make smart investments for posterity. The good thing is that most projects, particularly those that might be funded by some of the federal funding, have gone through some pretty rigorous processes that much risk has been mitigated, but these smart partnerships help mitigate that risk even more. These programs, I'm thinking about the Inflation Reduction Act and some of the clean energy investments. And I think it's lost sometimes in the big numbers around the bills that have been passed. But close to $858 billion of private sector commitments have been made marrying up with these public incentive programs. So the private sector has been stepping up. It's our job to make sure that we're all literally going in the same direction at the same time, and that starts with transparency, that starts with conversation, that starts with us doing our job as municipal leaders, driving these large metropolitan economies, doing the introspection that helps us articulate very clearly what we need going forward after having this type of dialogue with our community. When you do that, you mitigate risk, you make smart investments for posterity, and we all win together. But if you haven't reached out to one another on some innovative ways that you think you can help move your respective communities together, I want to encourage you to do so. The reality is that we can't do it on our own because we shouldn't be doing it on our own. We should be doing all these things together, but that only starts with good, strong dialogue. I will say this, because you mentioned him, I forgot to do so. Really want to thank Mayor Dickens for his leadership. He is an amazing leader of a global city. So he's a legit leader, but when he starts talking about P3s, he's like a kid in the candy store, y'all. He gets giddy about what the possibilities are here. So having him as the first chair of the task force, Mayor Suarez establishing the task force, shows that we're talking about legitimate bipartisan leadership to get some things done. So thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, well, thank you all for this afternoon. Look forward to seeing you at 3 o'clock and again, hopefully at 4:15. Mayors, thank you all for your time, for your leadership, for your partnership. Have a good afternoon.
All right.
Okay. How's everyone feeling? Good? Good. All right, please make sure you thank our servers. They are doing an amazing job. Thank you. Okay, housekeeping notes. This is important for mayors. Mayors, raise your hand. Let me see you. Okay, good. Okay, so listen. Because we will be considering resolutions tomorrow morning, I urge you to review the section in your program that explains the credential process. So that's page 5. Or look in the notices section of our app. Is everyone using the app? Let me see your hands. The app has been fantastic. I love it. Okay, good. Please make sure you have your credential card in hand to be counted during any votes for tomorrow. Remember that, okay? And you can pick up your cards at the USCM registration desk. All right, so make sure you want to do that before tomorrow morning or else you won't be able to vote. Okay. Now, for the 4th year in a row, the United States Conference of Mayors and Target are honoring a group of cities that have shown leadership in advancing the goals of police reform and equitable justice. Here to announce 3 cities receiving grants is the Senior Vice President of Enterprise, Risk, and Government Affairs. He is concerned with public policy at all levels, has 20 years of experience on Capitol Hill, and is regarded as one of the most respected advocates in Washington, D.C. today. It is my pleasure to welcome Target's Isaac Reyes. Come on out.
Thank you, Mayor. I have no idea who wrote that, but I love all that, by the way. It's so great to be here again. I'm Isaac with Target. Proud to be here. My team from Target is up here in the front. On behalf of everyone at Target who is joining us here today, the members of our team, those that are out in our stores, our distribution centers across the country, I want to thank all of you for your commitment to leadership and public service. When I think about who we serve at Target, it's not that different of a universe of stakeholders than all of you. Thankfully, we just don't have to run for re-election every few years like you folks here. But when I think about who we serve and how we show up in community, we just refer to them differently. While they're our team members and guests, they're your constituents. While they're the communities in which we operate, they're your homes. And it's through partnerships with leaders like you and our shared communities across the country that we're able to collaborate and deliver for these various groups. It's this intersection, this sort of public-private partnership that we just heard about, that moves the needle, that truly creates vibrant communities where everyone has a sense of belonging. So, who we serve at Target, we serve our team. Our team members, our employees, are 400,000 strong in all 50 states and 2,000 communities. And they're at the very heart of everything that we do at Target. We recruit and retain team members who represent the communities that we serve, and we aim to create a workplace where they can all feel a sense of belonging and can have meaningful careers and have equitable access to opportunity. We serve our guests. Our guests feel seen and heard and cared for because inclusivity and belonging are core to who we are. That's part of what keeps guests coming back to Target. And finally, our team creates an environment of belonging for all families that meets their evolving needs and drives business results through our products, through our in-store and digital experiences, and our marketing. I love, like last night and this morning, when people find out that I work for Target. I get to hear about their Target or their Target, how they love to grab a Starbucks and have some me time in our aisles away from their family and kids, or that Target is their happy place. That's really special to all of us who represent Target, who represent this brand. And then finally, we serve our communities. We have a rich 120-year history of partnership, volunteerism, philanthropy, and local engagement that helps communities thrive. Since our founding, Target has recognized that caring for our team, our guests, and our communities is essential for sustained growth. We aim to create deep and lasting relationships with the communities that we serve. If we're falling short in any way in our communities, and I mean this, if we are not doing enough in your communities, please come see me while I'm here. Come see the team here at Target who's sitting right in front. Raise your hand, Team Target. They're all right here in front. Come see them so we can figure out what we can do better in your communities. And they will all promise you a brand new Target, by the way, if you ask them. We build partnerships with a full range of organizations that support equitable economic opportunity and help reduce disparities and enable the communities where we live and work to thrive. And finally, I'm really proud of this. In 2023, our Target team members collectively completed 1 million volunteering hours in their local communities and all of your communities across the country. So it's in this spirit of community impact that I'm going to revisit a topic that you've heard me discuss at this conference before. One that impacts not only our team members and guests, your constituents, but our communities as a whole: theft and organized retail crime. Theft and organized retail crime affects us all. It limits product availability in our stores, it creates a less convenient shopping experience, and it puts our team and our guests, again, your constituents, in harm's way. You've heard me say this is not just a retail issue, and retail alone cannot solve this problem. Rather, it requires a whole of government, whole of community, and whole of industry approach. And with your partnership over the past few years, we've convened a multitude of stakeholders to advance ideas and find public policy solutions that maintain and contribute to the communities in which we operate. Through this whole of government, whole of community, and whole of industry approach, collectively, we've been able to make meaningful progress managing theft and organized retail crime, prioritizing the safety of our team and our guests, all while maintaining the positive experience that Target shoppers expect. So again, to all of you who have met with Target and other retailers, with small businesses who have walked our stores and leaned in to help us, thank you so much. Now, there's still a lot of work to do, but I wanted to take a moment to recognize this progress. And just as important, highlight the potential within this room and what is possible as we work together. This is why I'm proud to stand before you today in the spirit of this conference and of this grant to continue to work together and find solutions and drive results. It's going to take our collective effort, our best thinking and action to make vibrant communities that are safe and represent us all. So with this shared goal in mind, Target is proud again for the 4th year to support the Police Reform and Equitable Justice Grants. This initiative aims to identify, support, and promote police policies and practices in cities that have been shown to be the most effective in advancing the goal of justice for all. So it's my honor to announce this year's winner. Now, you mayors have really busy jobs, and some of you are back, I don't know, celebrating NBA championships in your city or doing other work. So we don't have everybody here with us, but for those we'll recognize here in a moment. In the category of large city, our $175,000 grant winner is Mayor Michelle Wu in the city of Boston for its Youth and Police Initiative. Through role-playing and dialogue, this initiative enables both youth and police to discover new positive ways of connecting. In partnership with NAFI, which is a multi-service agency in Boston, the police department plans to implement the initiative in 4 city neighborhoods where gang violence, violent crime, housing instability, food insecurity, and other risk factors are more prevalent. In the very first year, the program will have trained 60 youth and 50 to 60 police officers. And preparing 6 new YPI trainers will enable broader implementation of the initiative at minimal cost. The initiative's expense covers stipends for youth graduates, food, and some officer overtime. The large city honorable mention goes to Mayor Buddy Dyer with the City of Orlando, Florida, for its Community Violence Intervention and Prevention Initiative. This initiative was in response to an increase of gun violence that began during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. A pilot program in which formerly incarcerated citizens conducted street outreach produced a dramatic reduction in shootings involving injury or death. The initiative's participants are provided with therapy, coaching, life skill classes, and social services. And because their lived experiences with violence and incarceration, the outreach workers serve as credible messengers when recruiting high-risk individuals to participate in the city's 18-month program of services. It has produced significant reductions in firearm homicides and non-fatal shootings. So congratulations to the City of Orlando. Next up is the winner of the 100,000 mid-size city grant, and it goes to Mayor Satya Rhodes Conway in the city of Madison, Wisconsin. They have a program called MAARI, which is a pre-arrest diversion program implemented by the Madison Police Department. And it directs individuals struggling with mental health and substance use disorder challenges away from the criminal justice system and connects them instead to treatment, counseling, peer support, and recovery services. Individuals 18 and older who are identified by the police department as eligible are connected to a 6-month treatment plan, and any charges associated with their referral to MAARI are waived by the department. The police department partners with several organizations providing human and behavioral health services and with 2 major universities in efforts to enhance the proactive approach taken to providing treatment and services to those needing them. The mid-size honorable city mention goes to Mayor Frank Scott in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, right here in front at the target table. I'm not supposed to have favorite mayors, but I think Mayor Scott is my favorite mayor. Not only is he from a great state and a great city, but he's a former Target employee at the distribution center in Arkansas. So congratulations, Mayor, for being a Target team member forever. They have received honorable mention for their crisis response team, which was established after 2022. They saw the increased need for mental health services arising. I don't think this is where I am now, is it? Oh yeah, sorry, from the COVID-19 pandemic. And they recognize that unhoused and housing insecure individuals who suffer from mental illness are most in need of help. The Little Rock Police Department established a team of 4 police officers and 3 social workers who were given crisis intervention team training and removed it from the normal dispatch system in order to allow response time flexibility, time to conduct follow-up contacts, and additional time to be spent with individuals in need. Beyond referring those in need to help to the appropriate community services, the team is reducing contacts that they have had in the past with law enforcement and the criminal justice system. Significant numbers of patrol, ambulance, and other emergency calls are now handled by the crisis response team in Little Rock. Congratulations, Mayor. And the last ones, and I promise I'm almost done here, for the small city grant of $75,000 goes to Mayor Tim Bussey with the city of Bloomington, Minnesota, who's also here in front at the target table. For the Increasing Trust Through Shared Values program, which is an effort by the Bloomington Police Department to build back the trust between community members and the police that was weakened in the death of George Floyd in 2020. The program brought together a diverse group of community block captains, executive stakeholders, faith leaders, and members of the department's Multicultural Advisory Committee. Based on the values shared by the members of this group, the department transitioned the recruitment and promotion of future law enforcement personnel from a traditional competency-focused model to one based on the candidate's character and values. A survey of public attitudes towards police on procedural justice, engagement, distributive justice, effectiveness, legitimacy, and other objectives shows positive changes in attitudes in all measured areas. Congratulations, Mayor. And the small city honorable mention goes to Michael Helfrich with the city of York for its group violence intervention program. It was launched 5 years ago to reduce group-related, sometimes called gang-related violence, with a focus on individual group members. Law enforcement's role is to send a clear message about the legal consequences of continued violence. The community's role is to address the root causes of violence and provide for opportunities of education, employment, and social services. A third component brings together initiative staff and others in the community whose backgrounds are similar to the at-risk individuals targeted, using them to establish trust and offer mentorship. A program titled More Graduations, Less Funerals provides workforce development scholarships to individuals who are perpetrators or victims of gun violence. And between 2022 and 2023, York experienced an 80% reduction in gang member-involved shootings and a 36% drop in overall gun violence. Congratulations to all the mayors. If you can stand up and we give them a round of applause. By working together to achieve equity and social justice, we can create an inclusive economy and society, moving our communities for our country forward by offering opportunity, hope, and progress for all Americans. On behalf of the Target team, thank you again for your service and partnership, and enjoy the rest of your luncheon.
Let's give it up for those mayors. Congratulations. Very cool. Target, where are you? You said you were in the front row. Where are you? Oh, there you are. Target. I love Target. I just love that place. Anyway, okay. I'm super excited to obviously announce this next mayor who I absolutely love and adore. He is amazing. But he is doing something I think that's really remarkable. And as many of you know, this year has all been about mental health. And I really believe these are the types of initiatives that are going to make a big difference when it comes to addressing mental health. So this very special mayor has served our organizations he's served as a strong voice for our organization and with compassion and equity. Here to tell us more about this work with Compassionate USA is my colleague, Mayor Ron Nierenberg. I love this initiative. It's amazing. Come on out. Mayor Nierenberg, thank you.
I think I need these up. Good afternoon. It's my honor to deliver some more exciting news about the Mayors and Business Leaders Center for Compassionate and Equitable Cities within our U.S. Conference of Mayors. For those of you who may be new to the conference and those who might welcome a refresher about the center, let me share with you a broad stroke of its history. In 2017, more than 325 mayors signed a Mayor's Compact to end hate, extremism, and bigotry, a 10-point pledge to work towards inclusive and compassionate cities drafted by the Conference of Mayors in conjunction with the Anti-Defamation League. The following year, this conference launched the Mayors and Business Leaders Center for Inclusive and Compassionate Cities and took a lead in promoting tolerance, equality, and unity as national discourse became increasingly divisive. 2022's U.S. Conference of Mayors Compact on Racial Equity then set the stage for last year's introduction of CompassionateUSA.org. Compassionate USA was launched as an online, accessible, and no-cost compassion training and resource center. Today, the center's mission of unity continues with today's launch of the Mayor's Starter Guide to Compassionate and Equitable Cities. The purpose of this Mayor's Guide is to provide a practical introduction to establishing a human-centered infrastructure to each of our city's potential and a more civic-centered approach to our greater compassion efforts. It includes data-backed and proven resources to help your city's journey to applying a more compassionate lens to your policies and practices. But candidly, one of the top questions we receive from fellow mayors about the intentional practice of compassion is, how can this work be truly measured? Or how can we even track our progress? Well, today, I have another exciting announcement. The Muhammad Ali Index, launching today, is a pioneering national research study to track compassion in America. It will start with a 12-region pilot, including San Antonio, Louisville, Denver, New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, Las Vegas, Dallas-Fort Worth, Atlanta, Seattle, Phoenix, and Jacksonville. It will also include a national compassion data set that will be relevant for all of our cities. The goal of this research is to track the cultural trends shaping compassion in cities across America and develop data-backed recommendations for partners to have a powerful social impact. The Muhammad Ali Index is the first rigorous data-driven research to not only measure but predict the state of compassion in America today, using a unique combination of human and artificial intelligence. Mayors will be able to find and use these data sets to build better school ecosystems, drive changes in the business sector, and offer tools to civil society leaders and executives to help shape the future of the cities. The Muhammad Ali Index, the world's foremost study of compassion, is an initiative of the Muhammad Ali Center in Louisville in partnership with the leading cultural intelligence consultancy, Sparks and Honey. Compassionate USA is a proud partner, a social impact partner with the Muhammad Ali Center. The center, of course, co-founded in 2005 by Lonnie Ali and Muhammad Ali, envisions a just and compassionate world where all people can reach their greatness. Its mission is to mobilize Muhammad Ali's legacy to foster respect, inspire generations of change makers, and advance social justice. The first phase of this research will culminate in the fall with the publication of the Compassion Report, which will synthesize the findings and include data-backed recommendations for cities to rebuild relationships and social cohesion. Mayors are invited to join a coalition of impact partners, including Strong Cities Network and Compassionate USA, to help drive change at a city level. So find out how your city can partner with the Muhammad Ali Index right now on your tables using a QR code on this card here, and go to muhammadaliindex.org, or just speak with the Muhammad Ali Center representative, Annie Moore, who is in attendance this weekend. The QR codes on your table will also direct you to the Mayor's Starter Guide to Compassionate USA. So in closing, Muhammad Ali famously remarked that service to others is the rent you pay for your room here on earth. Mayors, partners, staff, friends, I think we can all agree that our collective rent is due. So I look forward to working with all of you together for a more caring and generous tomorrow. Thank you all much.
Thank you so much. All right. We now focus on a crucial national issue, which is women's access to healthcare and reproductive services. Last year, I appointed the mayors of Tucson and Burnsville to champion our collective efforts in advocating for women's rights and equal healthcare access. Please welcome our moderator for this session, past president of the United States Conference of Mayors, and someone I call my BFF, massive champion for women's reproductive rights. The one and only Burnsville Mayor Elizabeth Kautz. Come on out.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Kautz, and I'm the past president of the U.S. Conference of Mayors, and it's always wonderful to be in front of all of you. You know, we're going to be talking about a very important topic that impacts all of us. And it's a huge and very significant topic about women's rights and reproductive health. But our focus today will be on services, because the overturn of Roe allowed many states to ban abortion outright, leading to a patchwork of policies throughout all of the 50 states. It makes it a great challenge for mayors to collaborate with medical and other providers to help our residents, but we mayors are doing our best. I am sure that each and every one of you have experiences that you can also think about and also talk about. As you can see on the map on the screen, I think Maya's map is going to come up here. Our nation now has a variety of state policies impacting reproductive rights and access to health care. While the direct impacts may be local, what happens in one state and city impacts all of us. If you are in a non-protected state, you can be arrested or denied life-saving emergency medical care. There are many examples of women having to flee their states to get the kind of care that they need. If you are in a protected or expanded state, you are being inundated with people seeking access to care. A recent New York Times article cited 171,000 traveled out of state in 2023 to seek care. That's a lot of women traveling to get care. These are the issues mayors are tackling. We have an informative panel of speakers today who will dive into the issues and share what mayors can do. First, I would like to introduce my fellow co-chair of the U.S. Conference of Mayors Women's Health and Reproductive Rights Task Force, Mayor Regina Romero of Tucson, Arizona.
Thank you.
Next, we have Mayor Travis Stovall of Gresham, Oregon. And our final panelist is Maya Rupert, Senior Advisor to the Center of Reproductive Rights. Now let's get started. My first question to our panelists is, we're almost 2 years out from the Supreme Court's decision to strike down Roe v. Wade. And the issue of reproductive rights is front and center in our nation's body politics. In 1 minute, but listen, if you need more time, I'm not holding you to it because it's an important topic, right? Yeah, it's an important topic. And so please tell us how the Supreme Court's Dobbs decision is impacting your community. Mayor Romero.
Thank you so much, my fellow co-chair. It's so important to have this conversation. Well, in Arizona, I'm the mayor of Tucson, Arizona, and Arizona is one of those hostile states. And since Dobbs' decision came out, there has been confusion and anguish in Arizona. You know, when Dobbs fell, we as mayors, and I as the mayor of the city of Tucson, we immediately put out a resolution to protect reproductive health care workers and doctors, and to make sure that people would not be arrested for seeking this medical care. In Arizona, as we all know, the Arizona Supreme Court recently passed or established an 1864 abortion ban in Arizona, and the state legislature and the governor repealed. So there's a lot of confusion. People don't know what access they have, and it's very threatening to young people and communities of color that do not have quick access access to medical care, to essential medical care. And also our doctors that provide the services are also very threatened and don't know what to do, because one day it's Dobbs, the other day we're going back to our 2015 law of 15 weeks, access to abortion, then it's a ban, then it's a repeal. There's a lot of confusion, and it's devastating to people and really affecting our state in a big way.
Okay. Mayor Stovall.
Thank you, Mayor Couts, and just want to say thank you for your historical leadership and your continued leadership here at the U.S. Conference of Mayors. I also want to take a moment just to say welcome to Kansas City. I know many people have done that, but I am actually from Kansas City originally, so this is a return home, and I actually did have breakfast this morning with one of the most important people in my entire life, and that was my mother.
Okay,
So
good son.
We had a great breakfast and coffee and caught up. So this is an incredibly important topic. And in Oregon, of course, we've got open access. And I am confident it's going to stay that way. But one of the challenges that we'll see going forward is, of course, the folks coming to Oregon to utilize our healthcare services. Now, that's going to be really challenging sometimes on our healthcare providers, but it's also going to be challenging for those individuals and those states. What we know, and folks may say, well, aren't you the mayor of transit? Yes, I am, but I'm also a former healthcare executive and long-term board chair for an organization called We Can Do Better, which is focused on civic engagement and involvement around health and healthcare. I've been doing that for years. And so I have a unique perspective in regards to anytime we reduce access across any of the healthcare continuum, we create a deficit in the overall system. And we know that once you do that, we see healthcare quality drop. We see all of the challenges, because if you do not have access, you begin to disconnect some of the things that we know are very helpful when it comes to the overall healthcare quality concept. And that's very challenging as I sit here today to understand how folks are going to access these critical points of healthcare, knowing that. In Oregon, historically, we've had a very open access system. Former Governor John Kitzhaber actually was very innovative around access to Medicaid. And we had the Oregon Health Plan, we have Care Oregon, that has actually opened up Medicaid to so many different people, which has actually improved healthcare and healthcare quality all across the state of Oregon. And so we know that more open access to the full continuum of healthcare and health is critical to the overall health of our cities and our states. And so as we see this reduction, it pains my heart to see that we are removing some of the most critical care that folks can get, especially when we talk about women's reproductive health. It's saddening that across the country we're seeing some of these reductions in these opportunities to get the full health care continuum that we need to have to ensure healthcare quality across the country.
Yeah. Mayor Stovall, it's so good that you're here talking about this as a meal, because you were here and you visited your mother, and you probably have sisters, and I don't know if you have daughters, but here we are because it impacts all of us. It doesn't matter whether you're a man or a woman, it impacts all of us. It's about our rights.
Yes.
And so thank you for being here with us. And now, Maya, your thoughts.
Yeah, thank you so much for this, and truly thank you both for your leadership on the task force. And I want to truly thank everybody here today. I don't think it's possible to overstate the importance of mayors in a moment like this. You all are the leaders who are closest to the people, who are experiencing the pain of this moment. And that means there's such a critical role for you all to play. And we'll talk about that a little bit more, but just being here and taking seriously this moment is so, so hugely important. I want to zoom out a little bit and talk a bit about the legal landscape. I'm not going to get into all of it, I promise, but I do want to just underscore some of the points that are being made here. After Dobbs, we had 14 states outright ban abortion, and 6 more that have already put in restrictions somewhere between 6 to 15 weeks, and after that, abortion is banned. We know the reality is that we are going to see more changes in the laws over the next couple of years, and that has created a few points that I just want to underscore. The first is that When things are changing this drastically and this quickly, and the stakes are this high, essentially people's access to their rights and to their basic health care are only as strong as our ability to communicate and translate a confusing and quickly changing legal landscape. That is obviously not what a real right should be. It should not be based on how quickly we can make people understand it and make it real to people, and honestly sort through confusion that the courts are still having to sort through. So the tough thing about a moment like this is that as quickly as things change, everyone's impulse is out of fear to say, well, then I don't want to do anything. And that means there are people right now who have access to rights that they're not exercising because we're not being able to communicate a very tough legal situation quickly enough. The second is, Mayor, you said it's a patchwork, right? What we're dealing with is the fact that someone can cross state lines and their rights change. Yes. And when there's that kind of legal confusion and that kind of public health confusion, there is chaos. And so what we're seeing over and over again is that. It's people not knowing what they can do. It's being fearful of traveling across state lines. It's needing to go across state lines, but not knowing the parameters of what can really happen. If you're following some of the litigation you're seeing, you're probably hearing a lot about people who actually are having planned pregnancies and dealing with the impact of these laws. You're hearing a lot about people who have obstetrics emergencies, which are a part of pregnancy. And I think one of the things to really underscore in a moment like this is that we're talking about people's right to abortion, but we're also talking about people's ability to respond in one of the most harrowing moments. Someone is carrying a pregnancy, is told by a healthcare professional that this, they're not going to be able to carry to term, that there's a problem, that the proper healthcare procedure would be abortion. But the provider and the patient, no one knows if they're allowed to do it, because do they fit in the narrow exception of an exception around health or life? What we're hearing over and over again is people being turned away and said, we have to wait until you're sicker. One of the Center for Reproductive Rights, one of our clients actually was told, we need to wait until you're septic because we don't know if we can perform an abortion otherwise. That's the kind of fear that providers are having to deal with during the most harrowing moment of a patient's life and their experience. They need to be able to rely on their healthcare provider to tell them what needs to happen and to do it without being afraid that law enforcement is going to get involved. And that's the reality of what we're seeing. There are a couple of Supreme Court cases that I just want to make sure people are following. The first actually recently came out. If people did hear about the medication abortion case that the Supreme Court just dismissed on standing. So essentially the impact of that ruling was medication abortion remains available, which is great because it is the leading way that people access abortion care. But what's really important is that that case was dismissed on standing. They didn't get to the merits of the case. So we could see in the next few years another case like that come back where potentially people will not have access to medication abortion. The other case we have not gotten a ruling on yet. We're expecting that in the next week. And that is a case that's dealing with exactly what I just said. It's emergency care. It's when someone comes to the hospital and says, because of what I'm experiencing, I need access to an abortion, but I'm in a state that bans it. And in that situation, does the federal law that requires people to receive emergency care when they need it, is that the law that rules, or is it the state law that bans abortion? And that will reverberate. The idea that someone can go to emergency care and not receive the care that they need, if that is the ruling, that will reverberate in so many other areas. So we're at a really dynamic moment with this work, and I say again, as the leaders who are closest to community members, you have the ability to make sure that we are making this moment understandable and translatable and actionable for more people, and we can talk more about that.
My next question is going to be for the two mayors, because this is important. I want to make sure that we have enough time for you to help our mayors understand all of this. So what are the three things that are most important for mayors from states similar to yours to know or think about reproductive rights and access to care? Because this is important. Women need to know what they can do. So help mayors understand that.
Well, first and most importantly, I think mayors can and should take a stand on reproductive freedom. We must get involved. Like Maya said, we're the first and closest to our constituents, our families, in our communities, so we should absolutely take a stand. Two, that we can disseminate information for our communities and make sure that we are helping those that need to access reproductive care. And then three, that we are not alone, that we have each other, and thanks to Mayor Coutzen and Maya, the Center for Reproductive Freedom, and other organizations, and of course our very own U.S. Conference of Mayors, Tom Cochran and Crystal, that is helping us throughout all of this, we've created a toolkit for mayors around the country to make sure that you have access to that toolkit and know that you're not alone.
Okay, Mayor Stovall.
Well, critically, we need to understand and appreciate as mayors that reproductive rights care is health care. I mean, that's the first thing we have to understand. As I just said moments ago, it's a continuum of care. Secondly, we have to talk to our state legislators. A lot of these things with access, a lot of things with catalyzing these opportunities exist at that level. We've got to make sure that as leaders in our communities, we are doing the things that we need to do to talk to our state legislators to ensure that continuum of care still remains in our states and in our cities. And as mayors, we can do those types of things to ensure that happens.
Thank you so much to our panelists. We've run out of time, and I hate it because there's so much information. So I want to make sure that all of you, if there's anything that you need, we do have a toolkit. So thank you to our panelists for their enlightening insights. And we want to make sure that you know that we have on our website at USCM access to the Reproductive Rights Toolkit. It is a living document that we will continue to update. We urge you to share with us the actions you are taking in your community so that we can continue to share these best practices and the information that you have with others so that we are all informed. Thank you so much for being here and for listening to us and to learn about this particular item because it is very important for all of us. We cannot have women lose their rights, not only in reproductive health, but our rights.
Yes.
So thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I am really excited for this next panel, but before we do that, everyone that knows me knows that I love to embarrass people. Does anyone have a birthday today? Raise your hand. See, they're all scared too. They're like, oh no, not me. Come on, any birthdays in the house? No? Well, I have a very special birthday with someone that that I am very, very fortunate. My assistant city manager, Ashley Turney, it's her birthday today. Actually, no, it was a couple days ago, but I have to embarrass her. So please join me in singing. She won't come out. She's dying back there, dying. But please help me sing happy birthday to Ashley Turney. I could not do this conference without her. Honestly, I'm so lucky. We all have people like that in our lives. And so I do want to, embarrass her, but also I want to recognize another trip around the sun. So happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Come on out, Ashley. Happy birthday, dear Ashley. Happy birthday to you. See, I got to stay being a mayor because I can't sing. Okay, I am very excited. This, oh, get over here. Come on. She says she's not mic'd up. Come on, just take a bow. Take a bow. You're 20. You're 21 today.
Yes.
She's 21.
You can all buy me a drink later.
You could buy her a drink later. She's now 21. Okay. Anyway, okay. This next panel I am really, really excited about because a lot of people have said to me, oh my gosh, what are you guys doing in Reno? Because we were known predominantly as a very, I guess, gaming city for a very, very long time. And whenever I got into office about 10 years ago, I said, we are really going to change the landscape of Reno and what it looks like. And we had one of the most impressive backyards with art that's known all over the world called Burning Man. Anyone here know of Burning Man? Yeah, you've been to Burning Man? Yeah, he's all. But so here's the funny thing. So Burning Man was in our backyard for decades, and the city really wanted nothing to do with it. And I thought, this is incredible. We should be celebrating this. We need to infuse this art throughout our city. And honestly, Reno has become a huge, huge arts hub because of Burning Man. And so it really is a way that I say that art is a way you package a city. It makes you, how many times you've gotten off an airplane and you walk right out and you see great art? I remember in San Diego, and maybe just feel like, oh, I want to see what more this city has to offer. And so I cannot tell you the economic impacts of art and what it has done for my community. We are like, a tech innovation hub now with companies like Tesla, Apple, Amazon, Google, all building and investing in Reno. And what we're finding is their workforce is saying we're really gravitating to Reno because how arts-centric we are and how much we embrace the arts. Obviously, because I used to be the chair of TAPES, Tourism, Arts, Parks, Entertainment, and Sports Committee, I've been lucky to see art all over this country. One of the most impressive places I have ever been is something called Wynwood Walls. Has anyone been to Wynwood Walls in Miami? Anyone? Yes? Impressive. So I fell in love with Wynwood Walls. I was blown away how incredible Wynwood Walls is. And so I was so lucky that Jessica Goldman, who is, her father actually founded this sort of district, and she is so talented, and I'm just shocked that she came to the Conference of Mayors to be with us today, because she was actually flying from London. That's how important it was for her to be here and to talk about Wynwood Walls and how transformational it is, because I think every city can learn so much from what she's doing. So please give a huge round of applause for Jessica Goldman. Come on out. Oh my goodness. I'm so excited. Because I tried a couple of times to get you, and I know you were really busy, but you
Never
are like
too busy for you.
No, you're amazing, amazing. You're like, oh, you got to go see like this tour that she will take you on. I want to show every mayor in America what you're doing, because it is transformative.
Yes, it is.
Okay,
Yes, it is.
so let me bring out my other guest, and then we'll get into it. We also have senior advisor. Many of you probably know her from the Burning Man Project, and a dear friend of mine, Megan K. Miller. Come on out. I also want, come on out, Megan. I also want Megan to run for office, okay? Hashtag mayor made me do it.
No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure. She's amazing, and you do have a little political bones in there. I know it. Okay, our final guest is the Director of Government Affairs at Burning Man, Marnie Benson, and my dear friend. Come on out, Marnie. Okay, I'm really, really excited. Okay, Jessica, let's talk about sort of how Wynwood Walls sort of transpired, and tell me, like, I don't want to spoil it, but I have like so many questions for you because it really is transformative. Talk about how like it all came to be.
So my family is in the business of revitalizing neighborhoods, and my dad, Tony Goldman, was an incredible visionary and a dreamer, and someone that, we had a real estate company, and so
We started in Soho in the 1970s. We went to Miami Beach in the 1980s, Center City, Philadelphia in the 90s, Wall Street in the 90s, and then we found this neighborhood called Wynwood, which is in Miami, kind of a declining neighborhood. All of these neighborhoods were declining when we went there, and what we saw there was a lot of graffiti. And the neighborhood, unlike, similar to any neighborhood that you would have in any of your cities. And the Wynwood walls kind of served as a catalyst for the neighborhood, and it was our heartbeat of the neighborhood. And so when we founded this project, it was a gravel parking lot, it was the walls, the backs of all of our buildings, and we invited the greatest street artists in the world to come paint. And it's just kind of taken on a life of its own, and the importance of art, and I love that you are so passionate about it, and I hope that all of the mayors here and everyone here understands the power of art and the power of transformation, because artists bring color to life. And so here's this neighborhood that is it's a huge concentration of art. It's on the walls, it's large scale, it's everywhere. It's kind of like going on a street art safari, and it's just, that's the kind of place that people want to be in, because very beige, gray neighborhoods they suck the life out of neighborhoods, and color and art brings life to neighborhoods, and it brings economic drivers, it brings jobs, it brings industry, it brings tourism, and that's what this project has done.
So, if I get this right, so basically you bought, these were warehouses, correct?
Yes,
okay,
correct.
So how many of you mayors have warehouses in your cities, and they're just warehouses, and they do not inspire you much at all? Matter of fact, they can get kind of controversial.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what, whenever I saw your project, I was like, wow, this is genius. And so you had these walls that were warehouses. That's what I'm blown away. A lot of warehouses in this area were typically people, at least I have a whole area of warehouses, and they just do nothing to inspire you at all. And they're off the freeway, we all know that.
Nobody's walking the streets. Nobody, you need, for thriving neighborhoods, you need energy on the streets. You need, restaurants, you need retail, you need office, you need people living there. And so it's hard to be a pioneer. And so as a company, we've been very pioneering, because we go into neighborhoods that other people are afraid to go into, and we see hope, and we see what it could be. And so the whole idea is to paint a picture of what that neighborhood could be. And so I very, very vividly remember my dad standing on Northwest 2nd Avenue and 26th Street, and he said, this is going to be the center for the creative class. That was the goal. And by the way, there was nothing in the neighborhood at that point. Nothing. Mm-hmm. Nobody walking the streets. And there was, and over time, we've had 3 million visitors a year to the Wynwood Walls. And so it has completely changed the face of the neighborhood. But in addition to that, it has elevated an art form to a whole nother level. So an art form that was typically unappreciated, not really respected as a true art form, which is the street art and graffiti art form. And so we put it on a platform and welcomed the whole world to appreciate it in a way that we appreciated it, because it's all a function. Art is very universal. Art is for everybody. And so what we did was we put it on a large scale, and we made it approachable. We made it so that galleries and museums are amazing, and they're very, very core to the culture of our world. But this was something different. This was something that hadn't been done before, and now it's caught on like wildfire. We've been doing it for 15 years, but now you'll see the Bermuda walls and the Denver walls, and which is amazing. That means that there's more color and more beauty around the world, and that as a goal, as a purpose, like that is our purpose as a company.
Others.
100%, and to improve the quality of life in the places that we work, in the projects that we do, and that is what I think all of us wish to do. I mean, that's why you are a mayor. You're a mayor because you want to improve the quality of life for other people, and art is a really, really important component to that.
I love it. Matter of fact, too, those walls are some of the most Instagrammable walls in the world. Am I right?
They are.
Like, it was so cool. The day I was there, she brought in like this amazing artist, and he did, what was that really, he did massive, large-scale art on what was the football stadium?
Well, we did a project, so out of the Wynwood Walls has come a whole nother world of opportunity, let's call it. And so we started a company called Goldman Global Arts, and so we do these kind of projects, bringing large-scale art to other projects. So Hard Rock Stadium, which is the home to the Miami Dolphins, we did 18 large-scale murals. We bought 40 pieces of fine art for the stadium. We just did a wonderful project with Norwegian Cruise Lines to design the hull of a brand new ship. So anything can be a canvas for creativity. The bigger, the better, the more exciting. So yeah, I mean, it's just a function of putting beautiful things into the world, and then it changes how people feel. It makes people feel a sense of pride. It makes people feel good, and we need that. We need joy. We need happiness. We need a sense of hope, and that's what these artists and these, and these kinds of projects can bring to the world, and that's purpose.
I think on so many levels, but it's just that placemaking. Let me tell you something, if you were a mayor and you're not thinking about placemaking in this capacity, you are missing out, because it's also one of, I think, most economical ways to transform a city.
For sure.
Because there are a million artists that I get to work with that just come to me every day, hey, Mayor, what can I do for your city? What can I mean, as you know, artists are incredibly generous, but they've got these hearts that are just so sensitive, and they want to give back, and that's what I love, like arts therapy and those kinds of things. And I remember walking through Wynwood Walls, and the feeling that I got, like you said, it creates that feeling. It was just unbelievable how inspired I was when I walked through there, and you could just feel the sense of pride and even compassion and sensitivity from all these artists around you. It was just mind-blowing.
Well, it's really hard to be an artist. It's really, really hard to be an artist, and it takes a lot of courage, just like it takes a lot of courage to, to think big and to dream. But but dreams are great, but you need execution, because then it just stays a daydream if you don't have really outstanding execution. And so, the artists are incredible. Artists should be celebrated. Art and there are lots of art forms. Dance is art form. Music is an art form. Writing is an art form. Food is an art form. And so, my hope is that all of you walk away from this conversation feeling like, I want to be an ambassador for the arts, and I want to be an ambassador for creativity, and I want to bring it to my community, because my community will be better as a result of having color and perspectives. And it's not just local artists, and and local artists are amazing, but bringing in artists from all over the world gives you a global perspective. And so an artist from Japan is going to do something very different than an artist from Brazil. It's going to do something different than an artist from Lithuania. And so what we've tried to do is bring that perspective, and we change our walls. So every year we bring in a new, what I call a class of artists, and and we change and we do new things. So you have to continue to reinvent yourself. You can't stay stagnant.
Yeah, that's why people come back. They keep coming back because you're changing. Even though I get like, that's so amazing.
I know.
It's like the Burning Man concept when they burn the man down, and I'm like, that art is phenomenal. How come we're burning it down? So it's like, that's a little hard one for me to wrap my head around. Did you bring a video?
We did.
Oh, good. I want to see this. Okay,
it's here.
All right, let's roll Jessica's video if you have it back there. Let's see. Oh, wrong video. Oh, it's the right? Oh, it's a combination. Okay, good. Okay, we've got Burning Man and Wynwood Walls together. Okay, perfect. Okay, is that it?
There's also
Shouldn't
a Walls one. Here we
Oh,
go.
here's Windward Walls.
Okay.
Okay. That was Burning Man, by the way. 70,000 people come out to the desert in my backyard. So this is Windward Walls.
The DNA of what's in the neighborhood and take it to a whole nother level. That meant curating some of the greatest street art in the world. That's so cool. How do you explain what that is? I mean,
It's the largest outdoor street art museum in the world.
Okay, largest outdoor
street art museum in the world.
I love that. And it's like a huge tribute to your father. You were very, very close.
Yes.
And just talk a little bit right when you walk out. And I don't think you guys take down this one. And he was the artist that
Shepard
did the
Fairey.
Shepard Fairey, who did the
Shepard did the first Obama Hope poster.
Remember the Obama Hope poster? Remember that? That same artist did the most beautiful wall of your father.
Yes.
It is incredible.
Yes, he did.
And you see that right when you walk out.
Yes, so my dad, I had the privilege and the honor of working with my father for 15 years. And then about on the 15-year anniversary of my employ, my dad named me CEO of our company, one of the proudest moments of my life. And then he passed away 5 days later. And so it's been 12 years since my dad passed away. And you think about the importance of legacy and why we do what we do. And so I learned a great deal from my mother and my father. And I wish to continue to make my family proud, my husband and my sons. And so he sits here, and he always inspires, and he's kind of the guardian of our neighborhood and all the neighborhoods where we go. And and he taught me to think, to be hopeful and to be wildly optimistic. And even though we live in very challenging times, and I can't imagine what it must be like to be a mayor in today's times, the challenges that you all face, but we have to come at it with hope and courage. And that's what I learned, and so he's still very, very present.
I love that because I felt like everywhere we walked, it was him, just pieces of him. Just so you know, you're making so many people proud.
Thank you.
And our job as mayors is a lot easier to do when we have people like you in our life because you guys are the visionaries, but we want to be there to support you. So if there's any one thing that you can do as a mayor, quite honestly. And you'll also find if you're not working with artists, you will be shocked of how many people are out there that are actually, I guess, partners that you never thought would exist. And from all ages, from really, really young to much older, but also supporters, a whole new level of support that you didn't know existed because they will gravitate to you because they want to make art in your city. They want to make people proud. They want to make sure that they are sort of giving expression that you wouldn't typically see. So when artists and mayors come together, it really is a remarkable combination. So mayors, if you're not doing that, you are so missing out.
But,
Missing out.
You know, I would also say that Burning Man is, you know, up there as an extraordinary accomplishment, like an extraordinary accomplishment, and something that we all look at. I mean, you live it, breathe it every day, but that's where dreams come true. Like that is where, you know, on a large scale, art on a large scale, you don't see that often. You see it outside office buildings, and you see, you know, like you see it in random places, but that in and of itself is so breathtaking. To do it in a space that is completely unexpected, to do it in a scale that is completely unexpected, is really remarkable. And I think that it is something that, if, you know, dreams, we were talking earlier about having a dream, but being able to execute upon the dream, and then it just opens your eyes to a whole nother way of like, I can do this. If they can do this, I want to be able to do this. And I know that Burning Man has kind of, in its iterations, has kind of permeated to all parts of the world now, but it really is a really spectacular program.
Yeah, it is. I am like so blessed to have Burning Man in my backyard. But I will tell you, I'll never forget when Marnie, when you invited me for the first time. What do we call that? XT tour?
XRT.
Yeah, and I don't like to get dirty. I'm one of those. I don't want to be dirty. I don't want to be, and so I went very reluctantly to Burning Man. But I'm like, I've got to go see this because everyone is talking about it. Remember? It changed my life on so many different levels. Not to mention, I think how I can't even explain the emotion that happens out at Burning Man because of the tributes and the grief and the things that happen in your life that you sort of, you're going out there. I don't know how you would say it. I would love for you to describe why people go out there. Yeah. So tell me, Megan, give me an idea of why people would go to Burning Man. Sure. And maybe just a little bit of background for people that don't know about Burning Man. I mean, most everyone's like, yes, I know Burning Man, but tell them.
I was going to say, I want to give context because I've met several people in the last few days here who've never heard of Burning Man, which I love. I love meeting someone who's like, what's that? I've never heard of it. And first, thank you just so much, Mayor Sheevy, for your support through the arts and of our event and everything. Being here, it's a real honor to be here. So Burning Man is actually a nonprofit, the Burning Man Project, and the nonprofit works to create a more connected, thriving society, everything we've been talking about today. And we do that in a few different ways. Number one, we bring people together. Number two, we stimulate creativity and innovation. And number three, we advance our culture through storytelling. So the thing most people have heard of is the event in the Black Rock Desert, 2 hours north of Reno. It's where 80,000 people gather every year to create a pop-up city that is really dedicated to art and creativity in all of its forms. Importantly, there's no sponsorships, there's no vending, there's no buying or selling anything there. There's no branding. It's really an opportunity to take those kinds of transactional relationships out of the equation and experience what it's like to just relate on a human-to-human level where creativity is truly put front and center. Do you want to talk a little bit more about Black Rock City and what happens there?
Yeah, I'm thrilled to. Thank you for having us, as Megan said. We build a week-long ephemeral city in the middle of the Nevada desert where 80,000 people come each summer. And the Burning Man Project provides, we set the stage, and the participants come and bring the vibrant content and art. And we provide essential city services and infrastructure like emergency services. We have the busiest airport in Nevada during the event. We have a Department of Public Works. We even lay out the city to create shared spaces and connectivity. The city is designed for social interaction and to increase connectivity between people who are there. And our participants who come to the event with, as Megan said, with no vending or transactions are free to experience the city in a different way. And what we start to see is that people start to see the world differently, and they start to see their place in the world differently. And Jessica, you said it's a place where dreams come true. I would add that it's a place where dreams take shape. Mm-hmm. And we see that when people are a part of an art project, either they're experiencing it together, or building it together. And people come together in a way that maybe is unexpected, bringing different skills to a project and seeing that manifest out on the playa. And the scale of our city, I think you mentioned, Jessica, the National Conservation Area where it takes place, the scale is unexpected, and so the art really pops out, and it creates a really unique experience.
But isn't it the largest pop-up city in the world during that week?
Must be.
It is. It's the largest pop-up city in the world during that week. Also, because mayors always like to bring it back to economics, it's our largest economic impact on our airport at that time. So it's massive. And think about all the small businesses. Like, all my small businesses are like, oh, thank God, Burning Man. It's like our Christmas, too, in a lot of ways, for all of our small businesses. Like, it's just, it's so exciting to see in the artwork out there. You can see, like, what was that game we all played growing up with the, and you could shake it up and you would,
yeah.
What was, come on.
Etch-a-sketch. Etch-a-sketch.
I remember going out, remember Etch-a-Sketch? We all remember that. No, these young kids, when I'm like, do you remember Julie from the Love Boat? They're like, who? But, so Etch-a-Sketch, it reminds me of that. But I remember going out there was this massive Etch-a-Sketch out there, and then we were just talking about the honey bottle, the bear, remember the honey bear bottle? There was this massive, you know, just the large
We've had a giant Rubik's Cube, we've had giant Tetris.
Rubik's Cube,
so.
airplanes, there have been those. But talk a little bit more, Megan, about Burning Man.
I wanted to go back to, you asked why people go, and we actually survey our community, and the number one reason people go is for the art, that's self-reported, and number two is for the sense of belonging and connectedness that happens there. And I think that's common. People come for the art, but they stay for the people, and it really speaks to what's most important. Like, yes, the art gets a lot of attention, there's big sculptures, it's really eye-catching, but the real important thing that's happening through the art is the relationships that are built, the skills that people gain through making that art together, and that is what has a lasting impact on mental health, on community building, on social cohesion, and so many of those things that, you know, so many mayors are working on today. And I've really appreciated your placing, you know, mental health issues as a top priority, because I really think that creativity and waking people up to their own potential creatively is a really key tool for helping address mental health struggles.
Well, and I noticed that the connectiveness out there is like unbelievable. Talk about, Marnie, about the principles, because this is another lesson that cities can learn. I mean, you can learn so much out there in a pop-up city, or, you know, it really is mind-blowing. Talk about the principles of sustainability.
Well, the thing that is that stands out for a lot of people coming to Burning Man is the way that we're connected through our shared values. And some years ago, our founder set out to describe our shared principles. And the principles include sustainability and care for the environment, and include radical inclusion and immediacy. And these were captured as a way to express what the community was already doing, rather than a way to prescribe a way that the community should be. And so that's what you see and what you feel when you're out there, and you start to get a sense of how excited people are to be together, and how excited people are to be sort of free of their schedules and their phones and their meetings, and really just interact on a human level. And I was asked so many times last year, you may have seen or heard, that it rained quite a bit. And
I was going to say, just so you know, because everyone's like, oh, they got stuck out there. But honestly, I was freaking out. I called you, like, are you okay? This is sort of a classic media example. Yeah. And I'm like, are you? She's like, Hillary, we're great. And then all my friends started calling me, this is amazing. This is the best Burning Man we've ever had. It's not like what you're reporting on the media. The media, like, really took it to a whole new level. Yeah. And everyone out there was like, this is amazing. We've never had more fun. So
I hated to disappoint people by telling them, like, it was not what it was cracked up to be. It was actually people really enjoying themselves and getting to know their neighbors, and having dance parties and wine and cheese parties. And, like, really, if there are 80,000 people prepared to experience those kind of conditions, they were there in that moment. And I was so delighted to talk to you and other officials to be able to provide those assurances that as an organization, we were doing great, and as a population, our residents were doing great.
Yeah, because everyone was like, oh my gosh, what's happening out at Black Rock? Because the media really sensationalized it. And like I said, you're like, oh, it's nothing to worry about. And so it's just one of those things, again, like, you know, don't believe everything you see. So go ahead,
I wanted
Megan.
to say also about the principles, just in terms of what can be brought into cities year-round. Participation is one of our principles, and we take it extremely seriously. Like, our version of public planning is very citizen-driven. We put it out to the community. What do you want to do? How do you want to use the space? What do you want to offer to your community? And then we plan around that each year. Of course, we have the benefit of like taking the city down and starting over every year. But I think you can bring, it's not just about like checking a box of community engagement, but it's actually leading with the community. What do they want to do? How do they want to do it? And that participation is really just core to everything we do. I have a colleague who likes to say, if you build it, they will come, but if they build it, they will never leave. And we've found that to be true. People like don't want it. They invest so much in Burning Man. They spend their precious vacation time because they want to be a part of this thing and create the space. And I just wanted to quote our founder, Larry Harvey, on participation, because I felt like this sort of applies to cities all over. We believe that transformative change, whether in the individual or in society, can occur only through the medium of deeply personal participation. We achieve being through doing. This is really core to us. Everyone is invited to work, and everyone is invited to play. We make the world real through actions that open the heart.
Yeah, I love that. That is so cool and so moving, right?
You know, I think if, you know, life is about experience and connection and relationships. And I think if we embrace creativity, just to be very clear, creativity is great for business. It's great for business. It is great for engagement. It is great for inclusivity. It is great for, you know, embracing all people. It is great to engage people of all ages, all nationalities, all languages. You cannot go wrong with embracing it.
Isn't that so true? Okay, lastly, I want to ask you, what can mayors do to cut the red tape when it comes to inviting creativity, to your point? Because I know, well, you know I'm a huge supporter of Burning Man, but we've also come into some spaces that can be challenging with other jurisdictions. Okay, Jessica, you okay? And I know also, I'm sure you've probably run into red tape at times. You know, I don't know exactly, but because what your dad did was very sort of revolutionizing that area and everything.
Yeah, unique.
So, right? He was a change maker.
He was. I think what you can do to be helpful is to be supportive, is to ask how you can help. Is to connect others, because it takes funds, it takes energy, it takes passion. You cannot do this alone. We didn't get a whole lot of help in the beginning, which is fine. Once things started to, you know, it started to look like, oh, this is interesting and this can be successful. Then we started to get help, which is wonderful. We'll take all the help we can get. But I think just be really, really supportive with grants, with funds, asking how you can help. You know, make it easy. Make it easy. Don't make it complicated. Don't make it difficult. Don't tie our hands. You know, we're trying to do things that are good, that are going to be lasting in the community, that are going to be positive in the community, and it's really frustrating when you feel like you have nobody to talk to, or you feel like nobody understands what you're doing. You know, Mayor Suarez has written letters for me for visas to bring artists to the United States. You know, amazing, thank you. You know, so I think there are a lot of different things you can do. I think it's not just supporting artists, I think it's supporting curators, it's supporting galleries, it's supporting people that bring artistic activations to your city, because there are artists all over the world, and they all want to be in places that welcome them with open arms. And so I would say be really, really welcoming, just like you would Google or Apple or any of the big companies. You'll stand there with big open arms.
Yeah.
Do the same for artists and activations and festivals and things that bring an authentic, I asterisk the layer, authentic, meaningful programming to your city that you can really wrap your arms around. That's how I think mayors can be really helpful.
Yeah. Megan, what do you think?
I mean, there's some very small things you can do. We just did this last week at the Reno Arts and Culture Commission. We looked at some of our grant applications for artists and looked at where we were asking the same questions in multiple ways or asking for information we may have already had, and there was some redundancy there. So literally just like reviewing your processes and making them as short and easy and user-friendly as possible is one. And then I would just add engaging artists early and often and culture makers, not like an afterthought at the end, oh, you want to make this project look nice, but actually as strategic partners from the beginning, because you'll have the best impacts overall from a project if they're really brought to the table early on.
What do you say, Marnie?
I would add to that, be bold and be empowering. And there's a great case study in Reno years ago. There was a collaborative effort between the city and Burning Man artists and art advocates that brought a 50-foot tall sculpture made of 5 cauldrons that were on fire. And it took some convincing to make sure that the officials and artists involved knew that it's well made, it's going to be safe. And what we saw happen, this was right in downtown right in downtown Reno on the river, and it activated this space in a way that hadn't been done before. And we saw over the course of the summer nights when it was going on, families started to show up with their beach chairs and their kids and their hula hoops. And it took what had been an abandoned lot and turned it into a focal point for that summer. And that was kind of one of the early examples of like how these partnerships are so important and how inviting these creative types, whether they're welders or experts at spreadsheets or whatever they might be, to come together and create something that hasn't been done before. So I would urge mayors, attorneys, plug your ears, but be bold and take risks and be inclusive.
I love it. Be bold, take risks. They are going to kill me back here if I don't get off this stage. But thank you so much for all of your insight and everything that you're doing in cities to make them better and more importantly, creative. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
for everything.
Give them a huge round of applause. Good job.
Thank you for attending this afternoon session. We stand adjourned.